What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. I don't know if I'm feeling these new headphones, man. They're not as loud. Anyways, so I got asked a question in the comments. This is not the video I had planned on doing on this channel this morning, but I like the question, and I know it's a question that a lot of people have thrown out there to me. So let me read it. The question was asked by @Mo8490, and this is the question. Dubs, I hear you mention you thought you were going to die in jail before laws were passed that allowed you and people in your situation to get a release date. I've also heard you say you are Republican/conservative because you only saw minorities and poor people in prison. So my question is, were those laws that allowed you to get a release passed in bipartisan fashion, or were the Democrats or Republicans responsible for getting those laws passed? Great question, right? Excuse me. Let me give it gunshots. I like that question because I respect the way Mo asked the question. People will get in the live chats, or they'll get in the comments and they get in their feelings. Oh, you're only out because the Democrats. Right? And then it cracks me up because it's like, before we're going to answer that question, let's go to what led up to this, right? So laws were written in the United States. Laws were written in each individual state. One main law you don't want to violate or break is murder, right? So in California, they had their definition of murder, definition of manslaughter, and so on, right? If you were found guilty of killing someone with malice aforethought, if you were found guilty of murder, you were going to get a life sentence. You were never going to get out because California did not parole lifers, okay? A life sentence in California was a death sentence, which was against the Constitution. The state constitution was, you got a life sentence, you were set to, let's say 20 to life, you have the possibility to parole, but they wouldn't parole you. Right? So it was basically a death sentence. This is, you didn't go to death row. You went to the other yards and you ran around stabbing people, getting stabbed, doing drugs, whatever you did, right? Okay. So that's the reality. There was already a life sentence for murder. There was also a life sentence for attempted murder. Okay. And then somewhere along the lines, the Democrats felt like, nah, a life sentence isn't good enough. Let's throw on some enhancements. And so they tacked on these enhancements to where, let's say you did have some kind of action where something changed. This makes it to where you have to do so much time before you're even eligible that you're going to be an old ass man, right? So I'll give you an example. My case was one of the first cases in California where a murder and the Street Terrorism Act were found guilty. 186.22B. 186.22A was only a 3-year term back then. I don't know what they changed it to. I'm sure they made it worse. But it was a 3-year term, right? Added to your sentence. 186.22B meant this. You would have to do the number, the whole entire number in front of your L, right? And half of the enhancements before you could even see the board. So in my case, I was given 15 to life. So that's the real number in front of I got 20 to life. The real number was 15 to life plus 5 years for a gang enhancement, which totaled 20 to life. Under the Street Terrorism Act, I would have to give them the entire 15 plus half of the 5. So I would have to give them 17 and a half years before I could even see the board. But I already have life. What's the point of that? Now, there are dudes that were given, let's say they were found guilty of first degree murder, right? So they got 25 to life. Then they got another 40 years in enhancements. So they have to do 45 years in prison before they can see the board. And then that's because of these enhancements. I want you guys to understand that. What enhancements did. Even if you would have got action, the enhancements kill you, right? Now, in my trial, my attorney got the detective, the gang expert, to talk about a skinhead killing that happened like a year or two before mine, right? And he admitted that they wore the same type of clothing, had the same tattoos, everything that warrants a gang enhancement, right? Then he talked about, were they charged with a gang enhancement? And he was like, well, no, they're white. Like, it's different. Very interesting. He asked how many times Mexican gang members, alleged gang members, were charged with enhancements in Santa Barbara since the enhancement came out. And he was like over 90%. Very interesting. This is what the Democrats did. So now getting back to the question, the Democrats could have changed the laws at any time. They didn't. The Republicans don't have. See, people will say, they're going to get in the comments, Dubs, that enhancement was pushed by this Republican. Okay. What passes in the California State Senate without the Democrats wanting it to pass? Nothing. Not a damn thing. What passes in the Assembly nothing? Nothing gets approved in this state unless the Democrats want it. Now, what happened was this. There's a great guy named Scott Budnick. Shots for Scott Budnick. Scott Budnick is a movie producer. He made all of the Hangover movies, War Dogs, he made a grip of movies, right? Okay. He's from Atlanta. And he came to Los Angeles to get into, his Hollywood career. And he started going to juvenile hall and meeting these kids, right? And he's meeting these kids that were getting sentenced at 14 years old, 13 years old, 15 years old to 20 to life, 25 to life, 50 to life. Children. It blew his fucking mind. Scott Budnick went on to be very successful in Hollywood, but never forgot those kids. And one reason why the minorities in California, as well as other states, but we're going to stick to California. One reason why the system was able to fuck us over and over and over again. Guess why that is? That moolah, baby. We had nobody with money to fight. And they knew it. And they took advantage of it. We had no one with a bankroll that could get in people's ears. And they knew that. And then came Scott Budnick again. Scott Budnick he's a multimillionaire. Scott Budnick had the ears of other multimillionaires. Scott Budnick founded the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. We're letting it off left and right on this one, right? Scott built his coalition. I always tell people, to me, the political leanings of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition don't even matter, because what they were doing was righting wrong. They did not believe that a child should get 20 to life. Life, period. 50 to life. 75 to life. He did not believe that children could not be redeemed if given an opportunity. So he pushed, built his coalition, bankrolled whatever he had to do. And slowly but surely, it became known throughout the state. Whatever the ARC, whatever the Anti-Recidivism Coalition needed or wanted, whatever the ARC was pushing was going to pass. Nobody could get in their way. And so they started getting certain things done. The politicians started realizing, hey, we can't stop them. And how would they fucking look? They would expose themselves as the liars they were. Oh, we're for the poor. We want to. You could have changed the laws a long time ago. You didn't. The Anti-Recidivism Coalition forced your hand. Now, SB 260. I think it was 260 or 261. I remember Scott talking about it and saying he had went to a party. He was talking to the governor's wife, Governor Brown, right? Next day, he gets a phone call. Governor Brown wants to speak to him. See, as the way California is, the way they like to spin everything, the politicians, they have a lot of people fooled that Governor Draconian is the reason for the prison boom when they started expanding the prisons and incarcerating more people. The reality is it started with Governor Brown. And Draconian picked up where he left off. So Draconian gets the brunt of the blame. But it started with Brown. So Brown called Scott into his office, asked for a meeting. Scott obliged because Scott, as a fucking multimillionaire, wanted to change the system. Scott has the meeting. Governor Brown explains that he had just went on a huge tour of Europe. While he was in Europe, every country he went to, he would visit the prisons. The prison systems over there have a recidivism rate that is so low. And Brown felt guilty. Brown told Scott, I had to become governor again because things had to change. I had to right the wrong. I'm the one that kicked all this stuff off and I wanted to fix it and I'm trying to figure out how. Scott was his way. Now, Governor Brown said when he was in Europe and he would talk to everybody over there, he would become embarrassed explaining that 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 17-year-olds would get 50 to life sentences in California. And it wasn't just a one-off. Kids were getting 20 to life, 25 to life, 30 to life, left and right. And every one of the European leaders that he spoke to told him, you can't do that. They're human beings. You can't do that. That's why he called Scott in. And somebody's going to say, oh, well, then it was the Democrats. No. Scott was going to get it passed no matter what. The governor knew that. And so the governor said, I can't stop what's going to happen, but I'd like to have my name stamped on it. Scott was like, for sure. That's more recognition. No problem. The thing is, as Governor Brown said, he started it. It didn't sit well with him. But you see, Governor Brown initiated everything in the 70s. Late 70s, I believe it was, right? So why from the late 70s until the 2000s didn't the Democrats change any of that? Why didn't they feel the guilt to change that? Why didn't they feel like they needed a right or wrong? So people can say it was the Democrats that changed the law to let us out. People can say, oh, the Republicans would let you rot. But the proof is in the pudding. The Democrats run this state, top to bottom. all the laws that everybody else said, oh, California has some of the most draconian laws. Thank you, Democrats. So say what you want of who got us out. Scott Budnick had the heart and soul and the wherewithal to say, this ain't right, and I'm going to change it. Somehow, some way, I'm going to change it. I'm going to back away from producing movies and making millions to focus on righting this wrong. He did that. So that's my answer. Thank you to Scott Budnick. Thank you to the ARC. The ARC is not a perfect organization, but which one is? But I know for a fact I'm out because of them. And I know thousands. I don't know what the number is. Hopefully somebody from the ARC will see this and they will put the number out. Since the passage of SB 260, how many lifers have gotten out? See, people say this. They say these little dumb things and, oh, Dubs got out because of this, because I got out because of 261, SB 261. Only thing that got me out. I would still be in there and I would die in there had that not happened. Okay. But hopefully somebody from ARC will get in the comments with some facts, and I will pin that comment if they do, because it's important that people understand thousands and thousands of lifers have gotten out. I believe the recidivism rate of lifers, ex-lifers who reenter society, I believe is still under 1%. Those people that go to prison with a 10-year term, 8-year term, their recidivism rate, I believe, is in the 70s, because they ain't going to learn a fucking thing like that. Right? They have no incentive to. But anyways, that's my video. That's my answer. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Anybody who has a loved one in prison, if you have a friend that has a loved one in prison, share this video with them. I don't care what state it is, because there should be a Scott Budnick in every damn state. New York needs one. Anyhow, that's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. I'm out.